Om Shanti. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another friendly episode of Friday with Friends. Today we have a friend that everyone knows, friend of everyone, not just in Miami, Florida, not just the United States, but the entire globe knows Wadi Ben. Sister Wadi, Veronica McHugh, affectionately known by her friends, which are around the world, is Wadi. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Craig.
It's really a pleasure. And normally I see you in the position that I'm in today, that in fact, I've learned from watching you that you're such a good interviewer of people, not in terms of the business of interviewing, but in terms of being interested. I think that goes together. It's about interest and really learning something from that individual. So that's what I'm going to do with you today, is learn from you.
But I often say that the interest at one level is not as maybe gregarious as it sounds, because I do think there's self-interest in that. You know, I see something about myself in every single person, so that it's even whilst I'm interested in you, I'm also learning about me, you know, because you are me at some level.
What a beautiful segue into the title that was given to today's talk called Sharing a Vision. So when you hear that term, what percolates in your mind?
Well, for me, I have to say, because of the days we find ourselves in, the memorial of the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, whose last rites would have been carried out on this day, the 21st, 53 odd years ago. And for me, he was the one that had the vision and that was able to share the vision in such a powerful way that a whole army of us were able to see what he saw. And then with big hearts and open-handedness, went about fulfilling that vision, which he knew he couldn't complete by himself.
It's beyond really my understanding, that type of vision. So my next question that comes up is, are there any prerequisites to having a vision? How does it come about? You know, why does someone have a vision? Is it just, you say, predestined, or what are some of the factors that bring me to that position?
Well, the thing is, you know, I don't know if we can split hairs about the word itself, vision, because some people just want a vision, like a spiritual experience. I've done all these novenas and all this contemplation because I want a vision of God or the Virgin or Christ or whoever, and so I'm desirous of it. And I'm doing what I think is going to help me get there. And so, in other words, that they then see something which is beyond the sight of the two eyes, and they're satisfied. You know, that's it. But I think we're talking about a bigger vision.
Yes.
And yeah, and so I don't know, and I don't know how many people have had a vision and it stopped there. It's kind of like, you know, the difference between the dreamer and the visionary, in that the dreamer, I think it was Martin Luther King that said it, that the difference is one has their eyes wide open and the other has their eyes shut or wide shut, you know. And so that the visionary, I think there's a list of criteria that will prove that this truly is a visionary. It's not just an idle dream, although it will, interestingly enough, somehow use the energy of the dreamers, if you like, to manifest that vision. And so that there will be courage to take the steps necessary, knowing that you have been not so much appointed, but that you're not going to pass it off to somebody else, but that you're taking responsibility for the vision, and that there will be the courage, and that there will be, even though there may be difficulties, but there will be that faith, if you like, that even while seeing clearly that future that's not yet born, they will be very present and focused, that they have total faith in the inevitability of the, of the outcome of the manifestation of the vision. And so then we'll take the steps necessary, however, hesitant, but to bring that into implementation, to implement it. And
so the vision, I'm sorry.
Yes, no, go ahead.
So the vision is first. I don't even need the roadmap, because I'm thinking Brahma Baba is that he had a vision of world transformation, but he had no idea of anything about how to get that. All the knowledge as I learned about how this all took place, I was in more awe than ever that the vision came first and the information came later.
Much later.
Which is the opposite of the way that we learn.
Yeah.
We learn information to try to sometime apply it to get to our vision, you might say goal, or what we desire. And here it's there and so clear. So it's clear.
That's the thing, that it's so clear that it's almost as if it will be so familiar that it's almost as if you've done it before.
I hear,
which might be true.
Yes, I know. I hear the subtleness of that.
Yeah.
A term that just came up in my mind listening to you, and that's a term that we've been thinking about as a group lately, and that term is unlimited disinterest. What role do you think unlimited disinterest plays in me having clarity of vision?
I think, that's a pretty big one. And I think, what was the word you used?
Unlimited disinterest?
Unlimited disinterest, which would also, along with it, so it's not that you're just bored or fed up or something, but there's no longer a pull to what it is that you knew or what it is that you did. And so along with it, there will be a degree of something that I think is so necessary, renunciation. There'll be a renunciation. In other words, anything that obstructs the manifestation of you no longer find it necessary. It's a little bit like, this is a small thing, but in the last few days, because we were away from our devices, and I do spend a lot of time on them, and I just find that whereas before I would stop and I would read each news item or whatever, and now it's like boom, 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 boom. It has nothing to do with me. It's of no interest to me. It's a story of 20 years ago. It's a story about whatever it is that it's. And so the whole thing that a visionary will have an acute sense, I think, of time, and that requires disinterest in that which is mundane, no?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I'm thinking of something I heard of Brahma Baba long ago, is that he said, yeah, listen to the news, but 5 minutes of BBC is all you need.
That's right.
And
exactly.
it's so true. It's what it is I get caught up into it and my interest continues. It's like I'm fed. And of course, I'm sure the media moguls realize all this is why programs are meant to keep you
Hooked,
kind of titillated, but not quite satisfied.
titillated. Exactly. That's it. Titillated, but never any satisfaction. Yeah.
Another question about vision. Is vision, I'm thinking of the word that comes up is like seeing the three aspects of time. We have the past, the present, the future. So I've always thought of vision as also being, we always think of something in the future, but it's
right.
also where I've come from and where I am today, which is so greatly influencing how I see the future. So I'm thinking in terms of that word renunciation or disinterest. Like, I don't want to be disinterested in other people, but I do want to be disinterested in the mistakes I've made in the past, so that I'm no longer shackled by them. So then I'm going to repeat the same thing that I've always repeated.
I see this. One of the things, and I would say for you as well, when it comes to visions and visionaries, we've known one or two in our lives, right?
Yes.
And so for me, Daddy Yankee was the personification.
Absolutely.
This particular aspect that I saw in her, and that was that at any moment, she could be in the three aspects of time at once. That she's seeing your future. I mean, and I know this from a personal experience. It's not that she's going to say, Craig, this and this and this is going to happen to you, but her vision for you at a personal level. And then along with that, there's a power, the power that is in her could be equated with, amongst other things, the degree to which she has cleaned up her own past.
Absolutely.
That her memory tract is not influencing how she sees you or what it is that she can give you from a very pure place. And so she sees your future, and in a kind of a way, by extension, she knows your past, but she's working with you in the present. And
isn't that beautiful?
Yeah,
isn't that beautiful?
That's what I say, that it's all, it was there before you. You were seeing it in these people. It wasn't,
I know,
just romantic notions or
it's
anything.
very empowering. I mean, I just, listening to you talk, I actually feel Daddy Yankee empowering me in this moment, that her vision of me is so strong. Here it is now, I'm getting it.
And there you are. That's bringing it back to the nub of the thing, that, okay, we can talk about the big vision, but her vision of you, and when I say vision, I don't even mean her futuristic seeing of you, but vision as in her way of looking.
Yes.
Yes.
That's so beautiful. What a perception.
Looking.
So the clarity that's necessary. So there's so much, there's the renunciation, there's disinterest, and that's a great motivator to sit in prolonged meditation, because you realize that this is the process by which I get to see this vision of myself that others have already had of me. And so I'm busy looking at what I did that wasn't that I want to look up to. And so as I get some detachment and disinterest from that, I'm coming to the page that Daddy had of me 30 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. The same, I would have to say the same thing, that she, and so it's the way of looking all the time as well, making it very practical, the way that somebody else sees you. We say that history can be changed by a vision, the tempo, time can be changed by a vision, but also someone's way of looking at you can change you.
That's even more powerful. It's more powerful because it's visceral.
Yeah,
and
that's
when it comes down to it, everything is based on our feelings.
Yeah,
and it's how you could talk about Daddy and all the classes. You don't remember the brilliance of the classes. You remember how you feel in her presence.
Yes, exactly.
And of course, she wasn't doing it for you to feel that way about her.
No.
She was doing that to enable you to also do it.
You know, the thing is, what you're saying is spot on. And I think this is the thing too, when you reach, you know, because sometimes we will have an image of what the sort of the complete stage should be like. And that's the thing, that for those that are there, and sometimes you can get a glimpse of it for yourself, you're no longer using your intellect, you're not overly thinking something. It's like they used to say for Daddy Janky, you know, that she knows, but she doesn't know that she knows, you know, in her way of looking and in your way of being. It's kind of like the idea of the angel. The angel comes and touches and moves on, and the angel doesn't have a second thought about where it's been, but everybody else thinks, what was that? What happened? What happened?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just a quick digression, just an example of this same soul, Daddy Jenkins. I remember many years ago, you organized something in Miami at one of these, I would call it a New Age convention. You know,
Okay.
like, remember Timothy Leary was there and a bunch of, you remember all this?
Yes, yeah.
And
The
Daddy
guy.
came, and I wanted to take as much as I could. So I went down on the street and waited for her to come up. And then I followed behind and with the retinue and everything. And of course, the vendors are all outside these ballrooms where they're having the event. And it's a cacophony of noise, you know, of all the things going on. Daddy comes up the escalator for maybe 10 feet in front of her and 10 feet behind her as she walked along, complete silence as she walked along, just like something. And then when she got out of that zone, the noise started again. And the people are looking like something just happened, but I don't know what it is that just happened.
Don't know what it is.
And so that's giving visions.
Yeah. And that thing too of like in terms of being that you have a whole different concept of time. And speaking of the escalator, once again, when she was in Miami and she was leaving, and that was pre 9/11, so you could go to the airport, you could almost go to the door of the plane with them. And she had gone up the escalator, and another mutual friend of ours was with her. And those of us, the group who had come to the airport, were standing at the bottom of the escalator, and Daddy's going up. And the person said to her, Daddy, and Daddy means elder sister, for those of you who may not know, they're still waving. You know, in other words, he wanted her to look back. Daddy says, I never look back. So it's like, once I've left Miami, Miami doesn't exist anymore.
But, you know, and there's no lack of care in that.
Oh, absolutely not.
It's the care for the moment that you're in now, you know. Yeah, we've all seen. So now to kind of anyone who might be watching that wants to see about visions, I'll ask you, do you have what is your vision for the coming year, this year that we're in? Do you have a vision or a feeling?
You know, my feeling at the start of this year, and I, you know, even seeing certain things, oddly enough, even, you know, reading something just in passing astrologically, but my feeling didn't come from that. I do feel there's going to be healing this year. You know, I was very cognizant there was a lot of illness around me, like physical illness, mental illness, people going through such challenges. And somehow the feeling of maybe even many of them saying to themselves internally, you know, that old expression, you know, I'm sick of being sick. And where they're going to actively be involved in their own health, because not just the physical manifestation of it, but that they know that there's something more that they can either be doing, or they also reconcile the fact that this is some old karma, but that it has come not as a punishment, or to make you less, but rather to show you something. And so the healing for me, so I'm not talking necessarily it's going to be miracles and you'll take up your bed and walk, but that there will be a reconciling, if you like, with whatever the situation is, and that you will acknowledge that your mind, your soul, your whole being is involved in the process. And I was just sharing with someone today that my tendency, they were saying, well, why don't they go to like a holistic place or whatever? And I was saying my sort of attitude often towards when these things come up, little issues, is I ignore them. It's like either they'll disappear, or at least I don't think about them. I don't have the consciousness I'm sick. And I remember once someone who was here, and English wasn't her first language, and she was referring to herself. She had some particular situation with the body, and she was referring to herself and how she chose. She didn't realize she was doing it. She meant to say, I'm an invalid, but she said, I'm invalid.
I don't even realize it's the same word, basically.
It's the same word.
It's the same word.
I'm invalid. And so that thing of validating yourself.
That's a sickness, is to think of that is a sickness.
Yeah.
And it means that my vision needs to be righted,
yes.
so that I could see clearly.
Exactly.
So that's kind of my relationship to anything that goes up, is it's helping me right myself.
Yeah, exactly. And so that thing of where, and again, this was, I think it came up in our class this morning, the whole thing of intention, and that where there's any intention is going to elicit a response, if this doesn't sound too grandiose, from the universe. And so that intention will either open something up, or maybe even lock something, or close something, or block something. And so back to just the pure intention, whether for yourself, for the other, for the world, whatever it is, that even though it may sound very simple and mundane, but it does come with its own energy. And so where there really is that thought, so the difference in sort of I'm sick, and it's like, again, I go back to Daddy Janky, and she had many physical challenges. And I remember once in my very early days with her, and it was a problem with her leg. And so she was on the bed, and we were with her, and she said, "Leg, you are here. I am here. Finish." was so that, and the other thing, when we're talking of visionaries, just the other day, Brahma Baba, the founder of the Brahma Kumaris, I was listening to the last class he gave a couple of hours before he left the body, before he died. And he said that people asked him about his health. He hadn't been well that morning, but here he is giving class at 9 o'clock in the evening. And he said, my health is okay, but sometimes it's better than at others. Yeah. And I just thought, what an interesting phraseology. The man was an hour away from death, but did he say, I'm not well, or it's really bad today? He says it's okay, but sometimes it's better than okay.
Very okay. It's yes. Really that the vision is so powerful that's really what keeps us going is our hope in the vision. We want to believe the vision of ourselves. That's why there's all this things about people working on workshops on intention and all these things, to just anything we can to see ourselves in that way. So for one last question, I'll ask you, what vision do you have of yourself for the future?
Again, my model is Daddy. And, I have to acknowledge that that seat is taken, if you like. But that was why I loved her so much, because I could see something. I didn't realize it, but that you only love somebody because you can see something of yourself in them. And like some of the things for Daddy, and it came up in our lessons in the last couple of days, being able to understand hearts, being able to see the other, but not just see as, oh, I know what's in your mind, I know what you're thinking or what you're up to. It's not even a conscious thing, but that there's such a flow there, that it's not even about somebody telling you their story and you responding to their story, but there's just a kind of a flow, and that because of being connected with the source, that somehow you can be a vehicle for that person to also see possibility for themselves, and so can I ask you the same question?
Yeah, well,
And I don't know how much time we have.
Turnabout's fair play. I actually I have that trust in my future, that in spite of whatever I am myself, it's bringing me towards there, because I know what my soul intention is. And it's just about going through the process, like how I started. Brahma Baba had a vision of world transformation. He had no idea what that was. Or how to get there, or what knowledge to take. So in my own small way, kind of a mini me, is I'm going to reach that destination, the same one that you're talking about, that we all want to share, is that we have this vision for everyone like that, to see the greatest possibility in everyone, and let me not be any source of harm to any individual.
Yeah.
Because Brahma Baba was also saying that in the last Murli, or maybe it was one of the last Murlis that we were listening to, is that don't take the law into your own hands. And so that's the thing that's working on right now, that where will it take me by not taking the law into my own hands and just trusting. So I guess it's the word, that the trust is going to carry me through to the destination that I see for myself.
Has it changed from your beginnings, like when you were first presented? Because you're presented in a sense with a big vision, like for the whole of humanity and the whole of the world, and you're just a little cog in the wheel, and just your goodness, you want to be involved. You're not asking, is it going to cost me anything, or what's going to be expected of me, but you just open-heartedly get on board. So has anything shifted from that first?
I would say that it has matured, where it's less away from the visceral experience of being in that state of bliss. That was the goal, that I thought that was the goal, is to experience this visceral state of bliss, into kind of a mature knowing that it's happening, and being also concerned that others have this experience. Because ultimately what's going to benefit us individually is the good wishes of others. And it's really a sincere thing. I find myself just in talking with you, or talking, this is, thank you so much for creating this Friday with Friends, is that it gives an opportunity. The service that we do is more for ourselves than for anyone else, because I have a reason to learn. And in order to do a qualified job of whatever the role is, there's certain prerequisites you have to follow, And that's just letting go. Renounce sounds big, but just letting
Yes,
go of some of the things that are no longer necessary for me
that's
to
it.
find this vision. I think ultimately we all have the same vision. We all want to reach this. We don't know how to say it, but it's the same place. We're all going to come from different places. But I also believe it's like reversing the tree, that as we come into the trunk and go towards the roots, we all join on a more single vision. And I think that's what time is going to bring. I'm just thinking this now on the spot in front of you, but it seems real to me, is that as the
Yes,
closer we get to the root, we won't even be on the same page, we'll be on the same note,
beautiful,
and
beautiful.
words will no longer be necessary.
No,
And
no,
we see everything is happening to
yeah,
look how we're communicating. We're
yeah,
communicating through means of not even being in the same place, which before we thought it was something else, some magic, but
sci-fi.
it's Zoom, it's all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting.
And
The story continues.
interesting and inspiring.
Yeah,
Interesting and inspiring. And of course, that's the only thing that really interests me, is what inspires me. And then what inspires me is also hopefully what inspires others.
yeah, and it's beautiful, the whole thing of just the collaboration, because there is a shared vision. And even though it's for the whole world doesn't have to participate in it, to bring it about.
That's true. We only need a
Yeah.
critical mass.
That's right.
We
And,
only
and
need a
I
critical
do
mass.
see, I'm heartened. I look and I see that. I see more and more signs of what I like to think is the result of all the meditation that's been done over all the years, but that people are opening up more quickly, and
And because
yeah,
it doesn't take as much. Like before, you could
yeah,
say you plop them in front of the daddies for something to happen, but now that doesn't happen, so it has
no,
to happen somehow.
yeah,
So maybe I can start to let go of some of the personal vision I've had of myself that maybe it has inhibited this vision, that where you can see someone, what their potential is, and they can also, you're seeing it in them is so powerful. And this is of course
that's
what quantum mechanics
that's
is
right.
that it changes me
It
on the spot.
changes. Yes, both the visionary and
Absolutely.
the one you're seeing, that you're changed by it too.
Well, I'm sure we've gone past our allotted time.
Yes.
And normally at this point, so I'll ask the guest, could you lead us in a 3-minute commentary that kind of gives the essence
All
of
right.
what we've talked about?
And I check the current state of my mind, knowing that awareness and action have to match. And almost immediately, the extraneous thoughts melt away and give rise to a space in which I create, I envisage, and it takes shape. And there's colors, angelic forms, light, endless light, And there's peace underpinning it. And in all of this, the knowing that the essence of each one and they know it too. Is goodness. And I hold this knowing for myself and watch it expand into love. That is inclusive. And I return. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. What could be better than communion with friends?
I agree.
Thank you again.
Thanks, Greg.
And bye, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.